industry adapting to new challenges and emerging opportunities? How critical is the sector responding to shifting customer expectations? What steps is Takaful Malaysia taking to drive innovation and growth in a dynamic market? How is Takaful Malaysia positioning itself for leadership and sustained success moving forward? This is Money Matters. Hello there, good evening and welcome to Money Matters. I'm Zahir Kelvinong Abdullah. You tune into TV3, where you can also stream on Tonton. Joining us today is the Group Chief Executive Officer of Takaful Malaysia, Noor Azman Zainal. Welcome to Money Matters.
Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you for having me here.
Can I say welcome back to Money Matters?
Yeah.
It has been about a year since you came on the program, where I think you were talking about the Takaful Malaysia's 40th anniversary.
Yep.
And you mentioned that you were very happy with the growth of the business in that year. So looking at it this year, let's start with Takaful's impressive financial performance. So it has showed strong momentum across key metrics. So what is your assessment of the group's full financial results?
Well, Kelvin, first of all, I got to wish you Selamat Hari Raya.
Thank you.
We are still in the month of Shawwal. Well, talking about 2024, we had a fantastic year actually for Takaful Malaysia as a group. And in fact, we had the highest profit ever, in terms of PBZT and post MFRS 17 that we implemented in 2023, which is, I think, we had a very good year in 2024. In fact, our profit went up by almost 10% to 378 million last year. And mainly, of course, it's contributed by our family and general Takaful business, right? If you look at our revenues last year, at the group level, we had a strong double-digit growth, actually, at 22%. Mm-hmm. And you look at a family Takaful, for example, we had a growth of almost 28%. A very strong growth, actually, from the family side. And as for the general side, we had almost 15% growth in terms of our revenues. And we've been, the thing is 2024 has been a fantastic year, like I said, and great year, and a great year to celebrate our 40th anniversary with all the results. Mm-hmm. And in fact, all the 4 engines, every time I talk about STM or Takaful Malaysia, I've always spoke about these 4 main engines that we have. We got family or keluarga, and then we got general, and then we've got banker Takaful, and then you got EB business, and also now we're growing our retail business. So all these 4 engines are firing now. Mm-hmm. So as a result, you've seen our 2024 full year results. So Alhamdulillah.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned just now, of course, resilient financial performance in 2024, and you talk about revenue and profit growing, what you said, 22% and almost 10% as well.
Yeah.
Of course, this is an impressive achievement in a dynamic market environment. Yeah?
Yeah.
So your projections for the group's future performance and what key strategic priorities will guide Takaful Malaysia as you continue to build up this momentum?
Yeah. Well, if I were to comment about future and this year specifically, right? Definitely you have a lot of headwinds coming. We know what's happening in the market. We know what's happening globally as well. And the thing is, the question that investors or analysts have always been asking, whether can we maintain the momentum that we had, not just 2024, even for the last 3 years. So what we are looking at is to sustain our growth, because I think the game plan here is about sustainability. Mm-hmm. So whatever we strategize this year and beyond is all about sustainability. We want to grow. But I got to say, whether can we grow double-digit every year? The answer is challenging, of course. We know that, But the key word here is growth. We got to maintain our growth, and we got to sustain that. Mm-hmm. So whatever we work on, the strategy, I did mention just now is about banker Takaful. I talked about employee benefit, And then I spoke about general takaful business, which is one third of our revenue is coming from general takaful business, which is a big thing. And then we've got a smaller segment, which is we are growing, which is retail market. So we are working within these 4 pillars to continue our momentum going forward, to sustain our result. And I'm quite optimistic, cautiously optimistic, if I can say that, given the situation we are facing today as a nation as well. So I'm quite optimistic.
Okay. So you talk about the retail as well.
Yeah.
Is this something that you're going to focus more on in terms of to grow Takaful Malaysia?
Takaful Malaysia as a group, we have been, our core business have always been on the corporate side. That is on the family business. But on the general side, we are quite strong on retail. You talk about motor takaful, even we talk about fire. Those are retail market. And we intend to we intend to grow even further or faster on the family side for retail, actually, because I think this is an opportunity for us as a group to grow. And if you look at the prospect of this country, for example, more than 30 million population, right? And you can't deny that we are moving towards aging population, but we are also moving towards high income nation. So you can see that will be our opportunity to grow. This is a segment that we can grow further. Or, the thing is like, we want to ride on our existing banker partners, for example, to grow these particular areas. Because as you strengthen your banker takaful, you are actually using those channels to go to your retail market. So that would be the key focus going forward.
Okay. Yeah. Let's look at the takaful industry evolution. So how do you view the current state of the takaful industry, both in terms of its growth trajectory and evolving dynamics?
A challenging question, actually. I love this kind of question. The thing is, if you look at the prospect of insurance market, not just takaful per se, we have a dynamic market. Regardless whether you look at the FIs, financial institutions, you look at the needs, the protection needs of the people in this country. We talk about fire. You talk about health, actually. Health is a big thing here. Currently, we know about the hoo-ha in the market, right? But all these are giving you opportunities to grow. Because at the end of the day, it's all about providing the protection that people need. Because there are 2 parts. When you look at the family, for example, there are 2 parts to it. One is about the health. You got to protect. You got to make sure that people are protected. But at the same time, you look at the next generations, which is the legacy part. Because we need to pass on our wealth, right? So it's all about market awareness, And then if you look at another part, which is the general takaful, for example, everyone needs motor. And we see that our EV coming, and there's a lot of cars being sold, the new EV, there's so many brands now. And it's quite a vibrant market.
Yep.
And I think we can play a lot more in this space.
Yes, so when we come back from the break, which we have got to go right now, I'm going to ask you some questions with regards to the motor industry where takaful is concerned. So stay with us. We're talking to Noor Azman Zainal, Chief Executive Officer of Takaful Malaysia. Welcome back to Money Matters. We're talking to Group Chief Executive Officer of Takaful Malaysia, Noor Azman Zainal. Now, Azman, talking about advancing Takaful Malaysia's digital agenda, Takaful Malaysia has consistently demonstrated a strong commitment to advancing its digital agenda, which has become increasingly evident in recent initiatives, especially where IKUTI is concerned. So could you share with us how IKUTI and the digital platform and the brand is progressing?
I think I did mention in the earlier version of Money Matters, talk about IKUTI, right? One of the most popular questions asked every time we talk about IKUTI is why IKUTI? Why do you call it IKUTI? At the end of the day, it relates back to what I said earlier on about direct digital or retail customer strategy. You want to reach out to your end customers. You got to make sure your brand, the lingo, the language, resonate with them, right? So that's the reason why we use the word IKUTI. And even if you look at the logo, the symbol is IKUTI. So we've launched it back in late 2023, November 29th, actually, on the 40th anniversary, 39th year of our anniversary, actually. And we've been doing well. Yeah, in fact, actually, we've had four products on IKUTI. We got medical card. We've got what do you call that? A legacy, for family. And then we've got IKUTI Motor for car and IKUTI Car, actually, for car. So we split that because we have two segments when it comes to general takaful. But one thing I realized that IKUTI has taken the market. People are taking notice of IKUTI. That's the whole purpose, because what we want is we want to reach out to the market directly, and we want to offer products which are affordable, and we want to make sure that the whole journey of IKUTI is simplified, fast. So I don't mind saying that IKUTI is our linchpin going forward for our digital strategy, because we have a bigger ambition, if I can call it, our vision behind it. We want to grow big in digital space, and IKUTI is going to be the game plan going forward.
But looking at IKUTI, would you say that you are targeting more to your younger customers?
Yes, we are targeting people in the 30s and 20s. These are the young market. The thing is that these are people who can afford, Because if you look at our strategy today, we've got our Takaful Malaysia as a green, and then we've got our IKUTI, which is purple, But we know our market segment has a lot more opportunities, gaps in the market, especially on the protection gaps, We are looking at the market which is in the 20s and 30s. So we know these people, these are the segment that can afford to buy and digitally savvy. Everything is being done, or everything is dealt on your mobile right now, right? So everything has to be our thinking behind IKUTI has always been, look, how can we deliver all this to our customer faster? Right. So that's IKUTI. And so far, the result has been very encouraging, because we are going against the market, the market flow. Because today, if you look at the takaful and insurance, is very much dominated by agency force, brokers, all that stuff. And we know that at some point, market needs something which is fast, affordable. I'm not saying that those intermediaries, we don't need them anymore. We need them, but for a different segment. So IKUTI is meant to serve the market, which is what I said just now. Right. So that is our strategy.
Right. Can we move on to managing premium adjustments? There has been ongoing discussions about premium and contribution hikes for MHIT products. So what are your thoughts on these adjustments?
This is one of the toughest topic area that we need to tackle. I've always said that this area, this particular MHIT or medical and health for insurance takaful MHIT, this is not an insurance problem. This is a national problem. This is a national challenges. I did mention earlier on, we are moving towards aging population, you know, and unfortunately, our medical inflation is moving, is accelerating at a faster pace. You know, so this is something that we need to tackle. And I did mention many times that everybody has to sacrifice. We got to help the nation. The message here is we've got to help the nation, because the thing is, if we don't, this is my view, my personal view, because we got to help our government, you see. Otherwise, our public health care is going to be overly burdened. So we, on the private sector, the question is, how do we adjust ourselves? How do we, you know, play a role in this? So I believe that the whole industry, the insurance industry, the Takaful industry, all the players, and even APHM, Association of Private Hospital, also we are in talks. How do we address this? Among other things that we're talking about, for example, are we going to be, you know, I think we're talking about coming out with a basic medical products that everyone can be, you know, everyone can afford to buy. You know, so these are the things that we are addressing at the moment. And we're talking about MHIT, it will not end here. Okay. Because there's a lot more factors. We're talking about distribution factor. We're talking about managing the costs, the medical costs, the drugs, you know. So all these have to be tackled wholesome. You know, 360, you can't tackle just as an insurance, no. You know, it will not end, it will not resolve. It
has to be more holistic. I'll come back with more questions with regards to MHIT. We've just got to go for our final break. Stay with us. We're talking to Group Chief Executive Officer of Takaful Malaysia, Noor Azman Zainal. Stay with us. Welcome back to Money Matters. Before we went for the break, we were talking about MHIT. So, while it's reasonable to anticipate potential price adjustments in other Takaful products over time, these changes may not necessarily mirror the same scale or nature as what you mentioned, as those seen in a MHIT plan. So given this, what's your perspective of this trend? Because you said that there are other players, key players involved, that everybody has got to sort of come together to make sure that there's affordable products.
Well, changes in pricing, product pricing going forward, you're right. It's not just, you will not just be limited to MHIT products, right? Because if you talk about MHIT products, it's very much influenced by the claim frequency, for example, and the external factors, the medical inflation, utilization of how many people go to a private hospital, So all these will influence how frequent the changes will happen, even though at the moment we cap it at 10% every year or 30% for the next 2 years. But having said that, what about other products? For example, I'll give you an example, motor Takaful, for example, motor insurance is very much influenced by repair costs or claims frequency as well as spare parts. And all these are sometimes influenced by the external market factors, inflation. This is going to definitely be influencing the market pricing going forward, the dynamic, So it all depends. It boils down to each individual company, how they strategize, which segment they're targeting. For example, you talk about motor car, motor Takaful, right? Motor insurance. Which one is your target market? Which part of the sector that you want to go? You want to go EV? You want to go non-EV? You want to go, that is each individual company's strategy. So, but in short, we should anticipate some, changes maybe going forward, and we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
So looking at what you mentioned earlier about Malaysia's, can I use the word spiraling medical costs, should there be some common ground that has to be found here?
Yeah. It is. I did mention earlier on, everybody needs to make sacrifices, and for the betterment of the nation, because we need a healthy nation. And the question that we need to answer, all sectors, what can we do? What can we sacrifice? So there has been a lot of ongoing talks on this, coming out with the basic products, thinking about primary care, for example, how do we tackle all this? For example, using the usage of generic products, for example, So these are among things that we need to tackle. We need to find a solution. So at the end of the day, it's all about whether the people can afford it. So the common grounds is something that everybody must sit together and agree that this has to be done.
Right. Final question before we go. Takaful Malaysia's long-term strategy as the Takaful and insurance industry faces, like what you've also mentioned, rapid digital transformation, rising customer expectations, and also you mentioned increasing competition. What is Takaful Malaysia's strategic plan to, can I use the word, future-proof the business and maintain its leadership position in the market?
In short, we got to make sure that our presence in the market remained relevant. How do we make it relevant then? Digital transformation is a must. Retail market penetration is a must. Maintaining where we are today in terms of our banker space, our general Takaful, is also a must. So whether, the thing is how we are in the process of modernizing our company. This modernization process is going to take some time, from technology perspective, from digital perspective. We got to make sure that we are operating in a very efficient manner, and all these have to be supported by people, talent. So the next thing that I'm looking at is building that leadership pipeline, and the people side, and strengthening the entire workforce, reskilling, retraining them, moving towards a lot more on digital. So this is where we are going actually. So inshallah,
okay,
we'll be there.
So looking at what you just mentioned, people important. Do you think that nowadays, because one of the buzzwords nowadays is strategic partnerships.
Oh yeah.
Would Takaful Malaysia look into strategic partnerships with any parties?
A lot, actually. You can't work alone in this world. Unlike those days, 40 years ago, when Takaful Malaysia came into existence, you are basically technically on your own.
Yeah, well, you were the first one.
Yeah. and then I got to give my hats off to those generation of leaders at that time. But the business landscape has changed. The economic landscape has changed. Now we are more into partnerships. So we got to find the right strategic partners for not just technology, even to some extent, providing the right skills. So whether we like it or not, working with others is definitely is going to be on the card actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Azman, thank you very much for appearing on Money Matters. It's been a pleasure having you with us. And of course, we wish you all the best in your future growth where Takaful Malaysia is concerned.
Thank you, Kelvin.
Okay.
Thank you for having me, Ro.
It's a pleasure. It's been a great half an hour having you with us. If you miss any part of today's show, you can always catch it up on Tonton. As this is our final episode this season, we'd like to thank you for joining us for the past 3 months. I'm Zahir Kelvinong Abdullah, wishing you a great weekend till we meet in the next season. From all of us at Money Matters, goodbye for now.